we are back. Welcome to another episode of More Than the Title. I'm your host, as usual, Jared Thomas, Chief Revenue Officer at Outside the Box Digital. I'm like, where's my brother? Where's my guy?
It's the other podcast. They disconnected me.
The other podcast, man. But you know what it is, man. I got my brother, my brethren, your favorite CEO's favorite CEO, Chatty O. What's good, baby?
I'm just happy to be here today, man. We're gonna have a good time today, man. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one right here. We're gonna drop some gems on y'all today. Get ready, get a pen and pad ready.
Get a pen and pad. Matter of fact, where's the bell?
Hold on. I want to show you something too before Jared. You understand? We branding today. We ain't gonna get on me today, boy. We
got you more than, and what else can keep your drink cold with one ice cube for an hour episode? But you're more than a title cup. Get you more than a title cups, man. But we're gonna do a couple house cleaner items before we talk to this legend, this GOAT right here, man. Mm-hmm. First of all, shout out to our distribution partners, the Live Podcast Network, the first women-owned, black-owned podcast network. So if you want more black content from creators such as More Than a Title, make sure you download the app. And shout out to our executive producers, Real Block Films. And also shout out to you guys, the fans, the listeners, because we're growing and glowing week over week. So for the first time listeners, More Than the Title is about a show that talks about business, life, and we want to celebrate our people. We want to celebrate our culture, and we want to give the game back to our generation so you guys can learn and we can all level up together. So with that said, y'all know what we about to do.
We unapologetic about it. Be clear. There's no apologies that's going to be given on this show.
That's it, baby. With that said,
let's start the show.
I'm ready.
So we here, baby. So let's introduce this legend. This brother comes from the roads of Alabama to dazzling red carpets across the Grammys. This brother's not only defied the odds, but rewritten the script on the entertainment industry as a whole. His impact on pop culture is nothing short of revolutionary and daring venture that only few would dare to dream, let alone pursue. Starting as a record-breaking sales professional, this brother transformed into a music industry titan, morphing further into acclaimed actor, professor, and entrepreneur. And right now, he's currently focused on film, television, and his latest chapter in his extraordinary journey. And not only embodying what it means to be more than a title, his most significant achievement lies in his ability to empower others to recognize their potential. And let's introduce this brother, the legend, the GOAT, Mr. Dr. Mathew Knowles, baby.
Yeah. Hold on. Gotta give him the horn.
There we go.
Gotta give him the horn. The man,
baby.
myth,
hey,
the legend. The legend.
Man, it's good. Y'all brothers have so much good energy, man. It feels
good. Thank you, brother. That means a lot, King.
It feels good. Thank you for that introduction.
Of course, now, brother. You earned it.
You have to have that. You know, a lot of our guests come on, and we understand that, when you've been in the spotlight for so long, you kind of get used to people, talking about your accolades, but you got to understand that for the culture that doesn't get to interact with you on a regular basis, we need to see that. We need to hear that positivity, and we need to see that positivity more often, right? Instead of all the negative things that they push on us, right? Because then that can change the narrative, right? Helps inspire people.
So we have to create our own.
What you're saying is so real, brother, because history is his story.
Right.
And if we're not careful, we'll hear his story and not history.
Message.
Look, right
off the bat, Dr. Knowles. What's up, baby?
You see, I told you he was going to do it right off the bat. I'm just letting you know right now, Mr. Knowles, I'm telling you right now, we do quotes because a lot of times, like, our guests give us dope quotes. There will be that quote tomorrow. I'm putting it up. Be careful that history. We hear history and not.
We sending you a hoodie with that.
No, I'm definitely doing that. I love it. I love it.
Sir. But Dr. Knowles, let's start from the top, man. Let's talk about your upbringing in Alabama, brother. Right. What was that like, man?
Right.
Yeah, my daddy from Alabama, my mama from Louisiana.
Okay.
Y'all know that song Beyoncé has?
Which one? She has
about
bangers.
1,000 of them.
She got bangers. She got bangers, baby.
Come on, Dr. Knowles. You know better than that. We part of the Beehive. I got 1,000. You gotta be more specific than that.
I grew up in a little small town, Gaston, Alabama.
Okay.
I was born in 1952.
Okay.
And my parents we were poor, but I didn't know we were poor. Because my dad hustled. He had 3 jobs. My mom, she hustled, man. She worked as a colored maid, made $3 a day, convinced a white woman to give her all her hand-me-downs. And on the weekends, she would make quilts from the hand-me-downs and make $100 a quilt.
Oh, wow.
So, they really taught me entrepreneurship. I'm third generation entrepreneur. My grandfather was an entrepreneur on both sides, so I had that entrepreneurial spirit. But the key thing about my upbringing, I never went to a black school. Think about that. I went to elementary school in 1968. I'm sorry, 1958. George Wallace was the governor. Segregation in Alabama. So I had to pave the way for desegregation in schools in Alabama, elementary, junior high, high school. My mother went to high school with Coretta King and Andrew Young's wife. They all were there in Marion, Alabama. So my mom took the torch. I've been beaten. I've been spit on. I've been electric prodded by state troopers. So I really had a different experience. People talk about the Black power and they talk about integration and they talk about, where we are today, but I had to live through that. I had to survive through that. It is a lot of Black men and women that gave their lives so all three of us could be here today.
Message.
Man, that's real.
I love it because
that's real.
And I'm glad you actually brought that up early, Dr. Knowles, because I was gonna ask you, like, where did the entrepreneurial spirit come from? But now
it makes sense.
I'm just being honest with you, like, just hearing that story, right? To find out that you're like third generation entrepreneur, but to hear like what your mother went through is nothing sort of amazing. Yeah. But when you go through that type of a struggle, how does your mind even focus on like the goodness of that? How did you not just focus on like the everyday, what's going on in the moment?
Well, back in the day, we had Black communities. We had our churches, we had doctors, we had grocery stores, we had gas stations. We had all that owned by Black people. We even had Black women do nails.
Okay.
So we had a Black community. We don't have that today.
Absolutely.
And so, in the daytime, I was in a white environment, but I would come home to my Black environment, my core. And I'm very proud of my Blackness. I'm proud of my dad. He was a truck driver. He convinced the white folks he made $30 a week, but he convinced them to let him keep that truck all the time. He would go tear down old houses, sell the wood, the aluminum, the copper. He would buy your old car, sell every part, and they would like quadruple their investment.
Wow.
My grandfather had 300 acres of land. Check this out. 150 acres he would lease out to the paper mill in Marion, Alabama, because they needed to cut the lumber, the trees to make paper. Then he would go behind them and then he would farm. Understand what I just said?
Yeah.
These white folks paid him to clear off his land so he could go farm.
Message.
That's crazy.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
You're taking them to school.
I'm period. When I hear stories like that, my first reaction is
shit. I can't. Dr. Knowles, I can't imagine it. I can't
imagine that.
I can't even imagine you having to go through that going to school in Alabama of all places. Yeah. And then because I'm a sales guy too, Dr. Knowles, right? So I'm a sales guy. Your sales background is super impressive. And I also heard your TED talk about the highly successful traits of successful people. What are some of those, and how does that tie back to your background? What are some of the traits that you developed as going through that?
Yeah, my mainly my mother, because my dad was working 3 jobs, so I hardly got to see him that often. But my mother always instilled in me to be the very best at whatever I did, and she instilled with me that the sky was the limit, and that I could dream and dream big. We sometimes put a lot of energy in ideas and dreams, but they don't move the needle. It takes the same kind of energy to come up with the big dreams. But you can't have $1 million dream in a minimum wage work ethic.
Message.
You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Listen.
You beat me to it.
I think want to trigger the whole night.
He's ready. Dr. Knowles, he's ready today.
No, I agree with that 100%. You know, let me say this to you, right? My grandmother, she just recently passed away last year. She grew up in the South in Savannah. A lot of my family's from the South. My grandmother was alive for segregation, and she really lived through that because my great grandmother was very fair skinned, right? And her sister came out fair skinned, but she came out dark skinned. And my uncle was dark skinned. So even her going to school with her own sister, right? There was a very big disparity between the way she got treated and the way my aunt got treated just by the color of their skin, right? And I'm just going to tell you something. Those type of emotional scars, even to the day she passed away, she held with her the whole entire time. And I think that it's very hard for us as a people when we are scarred so deeply in that way to get past it and to try to do anything positive because we're constantly reminded of just the turmoil that we went through when we were children.
But Chaddy, you bring up something real important that I love talking about, those emotional scars, because I had those emotional scars, you know, growing up with racism and dealing with it and all the things I had to endure, even on a daily basis in the classroom as a child. But years ago, I understood that I needed help. And as Black men, you know, we don't like to say we need help, right?
You never say it.
Right there.
And as Black people, when you say therapy, you know, people think, he's kind of off. He's nuts. He's crazy.
Yeah.
But I went to 10 years of therapy to deal with racial trauma. That's a real thing.
Wow.
It's like colorism is real trauma.
Yeah.
That's real trauma in our community. But I went and I started out with this white Jewish woman. She didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And I said, I'm going to get me a Black male therapist. And I had to search. I was in Houston. He was in Dallas. I would fly up. And it was that important to me to have a Black man I sit there and talk who understood my struggle and understood my path. So I'm merely saying that we need to understand that when we need help, both emotionally, mentally, physically, that we need to seek it out. I mean, it's the same with Black men. We lead in the death rate in cancer and heart disease because we don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want to ask for help, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it in our community is almost considered taboo, right?
Yeah.
To go and especially, you know, you went through a different struggle than we went through because we're later on in the generations, right?
Absolutely.
So we are a product of what the work that your generation and the generations before us have put in, and we are reaping those benefits. So our struggle's a little different.
Right.
But when we're still urban city kids, right? We came up in poverty. It is a sign of extreme weakness to admit that you are not strong mentally.
Absolutely.
Just admitting to the hood that you might want to talk to somebody emotionally because you are not strong, you might not survive.
It's similar to the crying. Like grown men, we're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to show some sort of weakness or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's okay, man. And we be having that shit so bottled up.
Yeah.
But it's just the opposite. Strength is when you realize you need help. Strength is when you realize you need to build a team. It's not I, it's we. I mean, we do more when we're collective and have more people marching to the same goal than if one person tries to do it all themselves. Absolutely. And that's all that we're talking is, hey, I need to have a conversation to share how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and get someone else's opinion. Yeah. That's all therapy is. Yeah. I mean, it's not a rocket science. There's no taboo with a crystal ball. You know, you're having a dialogue.
It's real talk.
Yeah.
As you said that, Dr. Knowles, was there a mentor for you early before you got into the sales game? Was there somebody that put you under the wing to kind of help you through the path? Was there somebody that like that for you?
Yeah, it was. It was for me. It was a number of people. Again, living in the Black community, on the street that I grew up, there was this minister, Reverend Walker, I remember. Every time you saw Reverend Walker, he would go down to the convenience store. He would have a suit on. So I'm like 7 years old, and I was like, Reverend Walker, why do you wear a suit? Go down to the store.
Right.
And he says, young man, it's all about optics. And I didn't know what the hell optics was.
Right.
I'm like, what is that? He says, all about how people perceive you and what they think of you. So I dress this way because I'm a leader. I'm a minister. That's what I want people to know. I'm professional. I don't want them to think that I'm the same as them. And he wasn't saying that to talk down to anyone.
Right. Yeah.
He's just saying, hey, I'm a leader. I have to play this role.
I hold myself to a different standard.
A difference, totally. You're right, Jared. To a totally different. So he was my role model.
Right.
Once I got into corporate America, I had this white guy who was a district sales manager at Xerox. Mm-hmm. He saw something special in me, and he asked me to come to these meetings with him. So I went to the meetings, and it was these old white guys, and I'm like, why in the hell am I sitting here with these old white guys? They would ask me, hey, Knowles, go get us some coffee. Well, make us some copies of this. And then finally, eventually, they asked my opinion of something. And I responded in a way that they liked. So they asked me to sit at the table with them, because before I was sitting in seats behind them.
Wow.
They were only the president of Exxon, Enron, Shell, Texaco. So I got to see how the big boys think. And how think at a 40,000 view versus a ground view, because it's different.
Oh man, that's so important as a salesperson. I got to see the 40,000 view as an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so you don't get that view. For me, I'll be honest with you, Dr. Knowles. It was the same thing. A white gentleman for me, right? When I started, I was dead in a rut in sales. I'm like, man, I'm tired of doing the sale. I'm tired of sending 1,000 emails. And it was my sales manager at the time. I said, I'm gonna use content as a way to build relationships and bring in leads. And we ended up selling 2 million. But he could have easily told me, F off, Jared, hit your damn number. And I don't want to hear nothing. And we probably wouldn't be on this conversation today, man.
Well, the thing about sales, get ready to hit your button.
Are we ready? We ready. Hold on.
I love it. He on point. I love it. He on point. He knows about it.
We clipping that, Dr. Knowles. We clipping it up.
So, I was in corporate America for 20 years and in sales and marketing. Was fortunate to be the #1 sales rep at the medical division of Xerox in the world.
And that's tough.
3 out of 4 years in the world.
Wow.
Fortunate, the president of Xerox Medical became the president of Philips Medical. Became the first Black to sell MRI and CT scanners in America. And then went on my last 3-4 years with Johnson & Johnson as a neurosurgical specialist, dealing with in surgery, talking to the neurosurgeon with new instruments. And he's looking up at me like, what do I do, Mr. Knowles? And I better be, hey, I'm Black. And I'm in that room, I better know what I'm talking about, right? The key of sales, people don't buy your product. They buy you first.
Message.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
And I'm glad you said, and that was the whole point of going with the content. Because you're not going to buy me from an email. I'm not going to be able to get into Nike, but guess what? You can get Jared. And when I get you, we can have a conversation. And that's when the real magic happens as a sales professional, because I have the leverage now. If you come to me, I have the leverage as a sales professional versus me reaching out to you.
But most salespeople are trying to remember the features and benefits and not listening.
Yes.
Listening is a key part of selling so that you can understand the needs of the consumer, your customer. So you up there thinking, okay, this thing does this many gadgets and this many gadgets. That person is talking and you missed something real important.
Yeah.
Says, I'm going to build a new division next year.
Yeah.
There's that went right over your head because you thinking you're going to sell him this one thing and he's telling you there's an opportunity much bigger than that.
Yeah.
That we call that commission breath. Happy ears and commission breath. You know that we've all had it, Mr. Knowles. I ain't gonna front. I had a few of them. I ain't gonna lie to you.
No, I love it. I love it. I wanna I want to bring up something that you said because I can directly relate to it. My grandmother, I'm from Forest Projects in the South Bronx. Same neighborhood as Fat Joe and a lot of the rappers from the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
So my grandmother, everybody would come to her house. They call her Ma, right? She's like the old school Big Ma, right?
Yeah.
But when you walk through the projects, and anybody that's been to my grandmother's house, they know when you walk through the projects, it looks like disgusting. You go in the hallway, pissy elevators. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting.
As real as it gets.
You walk inside my grandmother's house, a lot of people have to turn around and remember that they're in the projects because the difference between outside the door and inside the door was night and day. She embodied that persona that your reverend embodied, right? That house was pristine. A lot of my moral compass and my foundation comes from my grandmother. I mean, we couldn't go to bed with dishes in the sink.
Nice.
You know what I mean? We were in the projects, but it was not a roach in that house. Like that house was always clean. And she embodied that. Listen, just because you live a certain way, you don't have to live a certain way.
Right.
And just because economically you might be at a certain level, everybody in the world doesn't have to know that. So when she left for work, she was always dressed. You know what I mean? Pants, suits, skirts, suits, hat, furs. You know, she was always like one of the best dressed in our neighborhood. And it really reminded me of that story that you told me about the minister. And she embodied that. She's like, listen, nobody needs to know what you're going through, right? Because they're looking at you as a person. So if you always present yourself in a certain way, then they'll accept you for that way. It's only when you present yourself in a different light that people will understand, like, okay, this is what's really going on. You know?
Well, you know, remember I started out by saying I grew up poor, but I didn't know I was poor.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For the exact same scenario, because I grew up for years until I was, I guess I was about 14. We had a dirt road. We lived on a dirt road with an outhouse.
Wow.
And around 13, 14, finally got the roads paved and finally got plumbing. So I've been there. Wow. But I didn't know I was poor for the same reason. My mom, she kept everything pristine, you know. Everybody worked. Everybody was positive. You know, there wasn't a lot of, you know, arguments at my house. You know, mom and dad wasn't there in a different environment.
Yeah, that's just amazing. Just hearing your story from going from that, brother. But then you just told us a couple minutes earlier you were in the room with not just industry leaders, but titans of the industry, right? Titans of the industry. So can you walk us through, like, how did you get to that moment, and how did you maintain those relationships? Because it's extremely hard to maintain those relationships. And I kind of want to segue to how you bet on yourself and kind of ventured off and did your own thing.
One of the keys, Jared, of success, and I heard you say it, is relationships and building relationships.
Absolutely.
You know, I pride myself on having a nice Rolodex of relationships.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm asking people for things all the time. It's sometimes just a real relationship where, you know, it's just two people breaking bread and having a conversation.
Yeah.
And you build on that. You build on those relationships. I know if I needed $1 million tomorrow, I could call 3 phone calls, no more than that. And I have $1 million tomorrow.
Message.
Because relationships I built.
I ain't gonna hold you, Doc Knowles. I ain't gonna hold you. I probably couldn't get $3.
Can I borrow 10?
I ain't gonna lie. I got about 3,000 contacts in my phone, but calling to try to get $3 for money.
And I gotta stop you too. You gotta buy your More Than the Title merch, because we might not be here next week if you don't buy it.
Just get one mug. We just need one mug. Just get one mug or two, and then we be there.
You gotta get the DNA of achievers. You gotta work with it.
But we putting up the link inside the bio.
In the comments, make sure y'all go cop where you get your books, Kindle, Amazon, all that.
You know, Jared makes a point about this, Dr. Knowles, all the times about when he was in sales, right? When he first started sales, one of the biggest things they would ask him is, who's in your black book?
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't even about the numbers that he were doing, and he was doing good numbers, but he would always mention, they would say to him, but who's in your black book? But who can you call?
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And And that's what happened too, Mr. Knowles. So that's when we went on when it switched. When I end up getting the people, like I end up having a successful podcast. I end up bringing people on the show to try to generate revenue. We generated $2 million without a cold call, and it was like they couldn't understand how we did it. It was just straight from relationships. So when I went back into corporate and they're asking me to utilize this, but I'm making the same as John Smith, it didn't make sense to me. Right, I'm making the same amount as you, but I'm out here getting millions of impressions. I'm out here taking time away from my kids, generating content for the business, right? So what is the value of that? And I put a value on myself. And then what we did was on the back of our shirt. We bet on ourselves, and now we're 1 year in business today, me and my brother, and we're making it happen.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you,
brother.
Yeah, we sincerely appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny, Dr. Knowles, but we're both parents, right?
Yeah.
And our kids are spoiled, right? They didn't go through what we went through. I ain't gonna lie, like they spoiled, right? They don't know nothing about struggle. This new generation, they have no idea what struggle is. And we get on them so much about being entitled, right? That entitlement and understanding what work ethic is and understanding what people have done before you to get you to this point, right? But after hearing your story, like we went through some stuff, but after hearing your story,
you went through some shit.
It kind of watered down.
You went through some shit. I don't even want to tell my story.
I got a crazy story, but after I hear your story, it's almost like therapy, right? It relieves me almost of what I went through, because I'm like, damn, I thought I had it bad, but listening to your story, I didn't go through nothing like that.
Well, there's something you just said. Also, work ethics. And you asked me earlier, what some of the things I got from my parents. You know, my first book that I just showed, The DNA of Achievers, 10 traits of highly successful professionals. It starts with understanding and identifying your passion. You know, most people don't really know what they're passionate about. It's that thing you wake up in the morning, you go to bed at night thinking ideas, crazy ideas. I mean, it's like part of you. It's like what fuels you. And most people don't have that privilege like we do to know and identify our passion. And I say this all the time. Get ready.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
When you live your passion, you never work a day in your life.
Message.
Woo!
Wait. We got to segue to that, and I got to say,
you have my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Sir.
I love that one. But you know, most people don't know their passion. You know, and what they end up doing is they end up doing a whole bunch of shit. You know, and they don't focus on one thing and being successful at that. Because they don't have a passion. They have hobbies.
Exactly.
They don't have a passion. They have a lot of hobbies. You know, I tell parents, because parents are, how did Storage and Beyoncé so successful? I said, well, when they were young, you know, we would expose them to all kind of stuff, science and all sort of stuff. And we would watch what they were gravitating towards. And it was always music, dancing. That was their thing. And I can only say to parents, if you have a child and you have to tell them to go to practice, that's not a passion, that's a hobby.
Message.
I thought you was ready on that one.
Nah, I zoned out on that. I zoned out on that one. My fault, I froze up and shit. I froze up, B.
Ain't going to trigger, baby.
I saw, hey Jared, I saw your eyes.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was immersed. Yeah.
No, but think about it, man. I mean, when you have to tell someone to go to practice, it's a hobby. I mean, I've never had to tell Beyoncé or Solange to go to practice. They bugging me. You know, we got practice tomorrow. I don't want to be late. That's what a passion is. And what coexists with passion are work ethics. When you see people like Serena or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or Tiger Woods, I mean, these folks practice. I mean, Kobe had this thing called 666. So 6 months after the basketball season, a lot of players, you know, they want to party a little bit, have some fun. Nothing wrong with that. But Kobe had a different approach. The 6 months after the season, 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, he practiced.
Wow.
And he called it 666. 6 months, 6 days a week, 6 hours. I watched Beyoncé and Solange put in that same kind of practice. I bet you Serena, after seeing that movie and Venus, put in that same type of practice. I guarantee you Michael Jordan put in that same type of work ethics. And that's what it requires. When you're passionate, you have these work ethics because you can't wait, man. I was excited about doing this podcast today. So this is my passion, to educate and motivate.
Yeah, we appreciate you, Dr. Knowles. You know what I mean? That's
real.
As an inner city youth, me and Jared, when we are growing up, we are passionate about things that we just don't have any opportunity and understanding that there is a future in it. I think that is one of the biggest issues for the urban youth, right? I tell this story a lot, right? I was all state in 3 sports, wrestling, gymnastics, and football. I'm all state in 3 sports, scored like 14 something on my SATs and then never went to college. You understand? Because I had nobody to even sit down and talk to even understand that I could take. I learned gymnastics on flipping on dirty mattresses. And I took that from flipping dirty mattresses and jumping off refrigerators and vacant lots with crack valves to Empire State Games. And you understand? Because we do stuff as hobbies just to take our mind off of the pain and escape what we are going through. But we don't have, unfortunately, the inner city youth does not have enough mentors and enough positive role models to encourage these dreams. So what ends up happening is we waste so much time just doing hobbies that by the time you blink, you're an adult.
Yeah.
And shit is real. You got a kid, you got bills, you got this, you got to go to
get a job.
You can't dream no more.
You can't dream no more.
Dreams deflate, man.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem. We don't have these programs and this message is not being beamed into Black and brown households as forcefully as all the negative things are being beamed into, that you are special and you are, you have a talent, and let's foster that.
But on the flip side, I would say too, on the flip side, I think there's a lot of talented kids in from where we're from, but also their parents don't give them the push that they need too, man. If you see them, like for instance, Dr. Knowles, my son is in the room right now writing a script.
Right.
Writing a script. He's 5 years old, man. Like 5 years old. He edits better than me, Dr. Knowles. He's about to clip this up for us. You know what I'm saying? He's going to clip this up for us. He's going to be running the business. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, it's like, I'm curious from you. I would love your advice. Like, how do you balance the business and fatherhood?
Yeah.
It's tough, especially when I'm the manager.
Yeah, like how do you do that? Like that's how do you do that? I need you to do this Sprite commercial tomorrow. We trying to get this money, baby.
Yeah. It's really, hey, there's no easy way for me, because I had experienced a lot of things in life, corporate America, had a formal education in psychology, kind of understood some of that. I understood, first of all, to make sure my kids was not doing what I wanted them to do.
That's key.
A lot of parents say, you will be a doctor.
Yeah.
So my philosophy, you'll relate to this. I used to always say, hey, if Beyoncé or Solange want to be a doctor, then I would say, hey, y'all go to med school. But when you graduate, I would have bought a hospital.
That's insane. I don't even know how to respond to something like that about a hospital.
It's a headset. It's the same thing. I mean, my former wife and my friend Tina, when she was 6 years a housewife and got bored, and I said, well, what is your passion?
Right.
And she said, I like to make women beautiful hair and clothes. And I said, well, heck, go to cosmetology school, and when you finish, I'll open a hair salon. We made our first $1 million in 1985. We had this hair salon in Houston for 17 years, Headliners Hair Salon. We made our first $1 million.
Damn!
And it was her passion. She did all the technical stuff. I ran the business part.
I love it.
Just like with Beyoncé and Solange, they're the artists.
Yeah.
And they are exceptional with the technical creative side. And I was allowed to orchestrate and architect and do the business part.
Wow. I love it. I love it. You know what? I want to ask you too, Dr. Knowles, because I would love to get into the business and negotiation because my sales brain is working. But I also
you got a sales
hat
on.
My sales hat on. I'm ready to get some revenue. I'm gonna kill this next call. I'll tell you right now, Dr. Knowles. But let me keep it real with you. I saw in the Vlad interview. He asked you about, Hov. He was like, how about a gangster? You said, man, how do you know I'm not a gangster? I've been in the music business for 30 years. I said, nigga, that was gangster. That was gangster. So you a G. You a straight up G.
Hey, he shut up after that, didn't he?
Damn sure did, yo. I'm like, yo, ain't this about something? So I gotta ask you, man, what was the biggest negotiation, the most gangster negotiation, a deal that you negotiated? Yeah. What was the lesson that you learned from that? Could you walk us through that? Like, what was one of the craziest negotiations?
Well, in 2002, I sold, and this you can Google this. I sold Music World, my company, for $10 million to a company in London, Sanctuary, formed the urban division, and we put out all kind of great records, Earth, Wind, and Fire, OJs. People don't even know that part of me. They don't even know the 7 years that I bought all these young Black men that were managers in part of our urban management. We had Mary J. Blige, we had Eve, Floetry, Mary, Nelly, Mario, Life Jennings, Beyoncé, Solange Kelly, all of that management crew. I was the head of that division.
Wow.
And so I bought back my company 7 years later for $1.7 million. I sold it for 10, bought it back for 1.7.
I keep it up.
That was a flip
for 1.7.
That was a flip right there.
Over 10, bought it back for 1.7.
That was a flip right there. I ain't going. He said I sold it for 10, then bought it back for pennies on a dollar.
And the content came with it. So those the records we made, So that was probably one of my best. But I've done I think 17 L'Oreal deals with Destiny's Child, Solange, and Beyonce. Right. Pepsi, we've done similar. Huge McDonald deal for Destiny's Child touring. Right. Huge Pepsi deal for Beyonce. We've done a lot. When I came to the music industry, because I came from corporate America, the music industry were in the records business. I've never been in the records business. I've been in the branding and endorsement building. I'm about building brands.
Message.
Not about just selling records. Because when you understand your core business and you build that brand, then you can do touring in a major way. Then you can have a clothing line. Then you can have all of these different products. But you first build your core business and you build a huge number for your core business. And then you sell them all kind of stuff.
But how do you make sure you get market value for your artist?
Right.
So at that point, as she's ascending, like how do you make sure?
Great question.
Yeah.
So let's go back to in the early 2000s. So a typical at Columbia record, the urban marketing budget, unfortunately, was less than the pop marketing budget. And the only reason I found that out is I had 2 white artists that I managed. Right. And then I was like, how could these 4 white boys marketing budget be more than Destiny's Child?
Yeah.
Wow.
Obviously, that didn't go over very well. But I learned quickly. So let's assume I have $1 million marketing budget for Beyonce. I said, but let me call L'Oreal, because if I could put Beyonce in the commercial, put her song, the single that we're working, in the commercial. Sony has $1 million marketing budget. L'Oreal has a $25 million marketing budget.
Woo!
So we partnered. If you go back and look in history, we always partnered with a strategic partner when we put out an album that had a much bigger budget than a record label.
Message.
And that's where the sales and branding gem. That's, oh my God.
That's genius.
That's fire.
That's genius.
Yeah.
Were you the first person to do those type of activations at that time?
At that time, yeah. At that time.
Wow.
We did a lot of firsts.
Wow.
Yeah.
The first single of Destiny's Child, No, No, No. When Wyclef did the remix, back then, the remix was just used at radio to extend the life of the single.
Right.
Wow.
So I walked in to the president and some of his senior staff and said, you know, I like to put the remix on the album. We still have time. They all laughed at me. They thought I was a dad, didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Then I said, well, you know, I talked to BDS, Broadcast Data System.
Yeah.
Back then, every time. Still,
You scan it. That's the scanning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I said, well, look, if I have the same lyrics, but a different tempo, could it count as the same song? And they were like, wait a minute, make sure we understand you. It's the same lyrics, same artist, but a different tempo. Nobody's ever asked me that. So they called me back. It was like, yeah, we don't think, there's no reason why. We would count that as the same. I said, well, I'm going to call one part 2 the ballad, part 1 the ballad, and I'm going to call the up-tempo with Wyclef, you know, part 2. That's how Destiny's Child out of nowhere became number 1 because both versions of the song counted at 1 at radio.
Message.
Crazy. That was crazy. That's the mad scientist vibe.
Yo, I've got to ask you that. I don't know if you're thinking the same thing, Chad. What do you think about streaming right now?
Yeah.
What do you think about, like, how do creators take back that ownership right now and get the value for their content?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really long, in-depth answer. I give
That's a deep question. Yeah, brother. I would love to hear your
when we
perspective.
get AI involved with it, and
With the deep fakes and all that other shit. Oh, man, it's crazy.
That's a long one. We're going to introduce 4th period.
And I love to come back and talk when we have time about this.
That's
but
for
We'd
sure.
love to. Anytime, brother.
Streaming, good and bad. The bad about streaming is anybody can now go up on the streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, back in the day, you had program directors that kind of streamed through what we were going to hear, right? And now today, you've got to fight through this clutter of songs to find new good material. Yeah. So unfortunately, there's a lot of bad content out there. And that makes it harder for those that have really good content. The other part about streaming is we have to learn and understand all the streaming platforms, all the revenue platforms. By the way, I teach at the London School of Contemporary Music.
There you go. Shout out.
And I'll be teaching at Pepperdine this next semester. So I actually teach what I talk about. And I'm constantly learning because when you're passionate, you put in the work. So
passionate, you put in the work, man. Super dope.
Yeah.
So it's just understanding also that the world is bigger than America.
Right.
You have to go over. If I was an artist in the States, I would spend my time in London. I would spend a lot of time in London. I would spend time in Brazil. I would spend time in Africa because Afrobeats is going to be the hot. Africa is going to be hot.
Afrobeats is crazy right now. Yeah.
5 or 6 more years. Then it'll be something different. But you got to understand, it's 7.5 billion people in the world. Why are you spending your time with 325 million people in America? Which is why I named my company Music World Entertainment. We never approached it from a America standpoint. We approached it from a worldwide standpoint.
Message.
Wouldn't you think it's like being in the NBA and going to the league in China, right? It's just home. You want to win home. It's something about winning here that just feels different versus other places in the world.
I think
my banker really don't give a damn.
Yeah, but I think
I feel you. that was real.
Here goes devil's advocate though. It's down to your resources. It is down to your resources, right? When people decide to get into a career like music, like I've been in music about 20-25 years and modeling and stuff. I'm in the studio right now. I still got my music set up behind me. You know, you don't know, we don't go to school to learn this. You understand what I'm saying, Dr. Knowles? Like, there are producers that have gone to school and learned production and learn this and learn that. But like I said, a lot of the inner city, we learn it from just watching each other or sitting in on a session, and we kind of learn it. But our resources are extremely, extremely limited. They're extremely limited. So you barely got enough to, back in the day, we used to burn CDs. Dr. Knowles, you remember when the CD burners was out, right? And everybody was purchasing
all of that. I know. Remember, it was a two-sided double disc.
Right. But now everybody, I think, is giving out like flash drives and thumbnails, right? But I'm just saying, like, back in the day, whatever medium was out when you were trying to come out, you barely had enough for your equipment or trying to record in somebody's studio to make whatever music or product you have and try to get a buzz. Now coming up with some type of budget to go to another country and live is like almost impossible.
But you know what you do?
But you read my mind.
Yeah, but that's now. I'm saying that's now. That's now.
But for now, for any artist,
I'm speaking of now because we didn't have the technology. Producers didn't have the technology. All you need now is a computer and a mic. I mean, you don't really need all of that technology to get started today. So there's really no excuse really for a young person, because they come in my class and they're like, I don't have the money. I said, but look at the shoes you got on.
And you say that shit all the time.
I do not say that all the time. I say it all the time.
I'm like, that ain't real. You just didn't see the value in investing in your career. You thought it looked better that you look good.
That's a man. I thought you was gonna beat me to it, bro.
Why I said that, because in this day and time, we live it in the fake it till you make it realm. You know what I mean? Because let's just say like rap, right? Rappers have a look, right? Most of them, this look, 100 chains and fucking saggy pants and all that shit, right? So again, they're spending their money to look like they've already made it as a rapper, right?
Yeah.
And to look like they fit in, so that when they present you with their music or they say, follow me, you'll be more inclined to say, oh, he's somebody, let me do it, and not look at him like, you look like you can't even wash your ass, let alone make a record.
But you know what, Chatio? The beauty, though, is think about rap music, where it started. And then where somebody one day said, you know what? I'm going to put a live band when I perform. Everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
A rapper with a band? That's soft. And then somebody said, you know what? I'm going to sing and rap. Sing and rap. That's real soft. It's the evolution. And that's what I love about creativity. Yeah. It constantly evolves. Yeah. And it will constantly evolve, that people think outside of the box and try different things. You're not going to... First of all, the first day of my class, and I've taught for 22 years, first day of class, I say, if you came in here to take this class to be good, don't come back tomorrow. I only teach greatness.
Message.
Crazy.
I would give a shit about you being good. Great.
I understand.
That's a mindset. That's a mindset.
Yeah.
You know that when your parents are great at what they do and they're always positive and they share the mistakes and failures, but they're always striving for greatness. I mean, that's contagious. And that's what we have to do. And that's what I applaud. I applaud the hell out of both of you for having a show that's not clickbait.
Yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
You're trying to really educate and motivate young brothers and sisters, regardless of what lifestyle they live.
Yeah.
You know, ain't nobody, I'm not judgmental. I'm not saying, hey, you got it. Everybody, I think, with this new technology, and as AI come out even more, your son won't be in there writing the script. He'll be on AI giving it some keywords.
That's it.
Hey, look at this script.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. And you know what's so funny that you said outside the box, man. Dr.
You
Knowles,
and you missed it. I didn't even hit it because I figured that's the name of our company. I knew you was going to hit the button on that one.
Right there on the sleeve, OTD Digital. Outside the box.
It's on this
Everything we do outside the box digital.
Right
That's the
there,
reason
yeah.
why we came up with the show, man.
Yeah,
because we want to do that. We want to give it back because, you know, Dr. Knowles, when I was coming up in sales, I didn't have somebody like you, brother.
Yeah.
I didn't have somebody. I came straight from the streets, man. I was working in BBQ, smelling like ribs. I got my first shot. My oldest was in the room, and I said, I got to get out this. I got to make it somewhere, and I don't give how I got to do it. And I did it, sir.
That's why I like to share my story, because I came from the streets too. The only difference in Alabama and the South, the streets you would call country. You know,
that
real. Was our definition of the street. You were country. You know, but we had streets. We had to go through the same thing, and I got through that, and so I realized that you can get through that.
Yeah, and getting through it makes you better for it. But that's why we appreciate you, because this platform only gets better, brother, because of people like you sharing your story. And it's people that's in our chats right now. You see the chat lines lighting up, man. That they want to ask you stuff and they want to see, just to see you with us, brother, means a lot, man, for the culture.
Well, I'm gonna come back because I love what you're doing.
That means a lot, brother. That means a lot, man.
I got a question for you, Dr. Knowles. This is this is a big debate that we go through a lot. Because you are formally trained and educated, what value system do you give in today's time versus going to college and becoming formally trained in a job versus trying to get an internship and getting into the job market directly? What value system do you give that? There's a big disparity between going to school, spending all that money, you know, because the numbers game is you spend all the money, you go in debt, credit card debt, school debt, and then you come out and get a job in the other field that your degree isn't even in. You know what I mean? Most Americans do that. So what's the value system that you provide on the job training and internships?
The short version of that is, you know, that we used to have the STEM for science, technology, engineering, and I and many other people fought very hard to change STEM to STEAM.
Okay.
The A is for arts, because the academics and academia don't really give the love to arts.
Right.
So even when my kids were young, my teachers, I don't know why they spending all that time with music. They ain't gonna never do nothing. You know, it's that negativity about the arts.
Sure is.
Crazy.
I tell everyone, I've had this is my 34th year with Music World. I've had over that time 200-300 employees around the world. I have never one time in an interview asked somebody what their degree was. And I tell you, I don't care. My first question is, A, what is your knowledge? If you coming to me to talk to me marketing, what experience do you have in marketing? If you say, I don't have any, but I have an MBA, and then somebody else come, I didn't get a degree, but I worked at, I don't know, Microsoft in marketing for 5 years, 10 years, I'm going to hire that person.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The experience. Now, how do you get an edge is having both. And how do you get both is exactly what Chadio said, is the best number one class in college is internship.
Yeah. There you go.
And, you know, unfortunately, HBCUs, we have to do a better job in interns.
Creating a pipeline.
Providing internship for our students, because that's where you learn and then you get to apply the book knowledge. But then, you know, one of the reasons I got in education is to hear students say, I have this professor teaching me entrepreneurship, but he or she never owned a business. It pisses me off. Like, how can you teach entrepreneurship and you never own the business?
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Right.
I know I'm making people uncomfortable, but that's what I do.
But wait, you know, when the next time you hear that type of question, Dr. Knowles, just be like, what the is wrong with this guy? Am I kidding me or what?
And you know what's so funny that you said that too, bro? We actually had Dr. Marcus Collins on.
Yeah.
And he worked for Music World, and he gave us a story and told us about the great experience of him hiring you. Are you hiring him and all that, man? He's such a great dude, man. Shout out to Dr. Marcus Collins.
Shout out to Dr. Marcus. Yeah.
I'm so proud of Marcus and what he's accomplished.
Yeah, he's so real, man. Love that
and,
brother.
You know, at this point in my life, I'll be 72 years old in 3 weeks. And
early happy birthday. We got to interrupt you.
Happy birthday in the comments. You know.
Let me say why we got to do it, Dr. Knowles, because health is the new wealth. I don't care how much money you worth. If you're not in good health mentally and spiritually, you don't have anything. So you look like you're in great health. I would have never guessed 72. I'm just being honest with black don't crack. Let me just black don't crack. Black don't crack. I would have never guessed 72. You look great.
God bless, brother.
I feel great. You know, had several basketball surgeries, but hey, I enjoyed playing the game, you know.
Right.
But health is, you can't have wealth without health.
Right.
And you don't want to, as you get older, become a liability. But I'm just, again, this is a real honor for me to just have this opportunity to talk to young brothers.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I just want to say this to all the young brothers and sisters out there. I know this is the most important election. It won't impact me.
Yeah.
It won't impact me. It won't impact my kids, 2 who didn't graduate from high school. One's a billionaire and the other one's a multi-millionaire. But it will impact people 30 years and younger.
Yeah.
This president election will impact you in a major way, how your life goes on. Do you have freedom, financial freedom, or even just can you ride down the street and not get arrested?
Yeah.
I know Biden's old, but I tell you, when you don't vote for Biden, you actually vote for Trump, and he don't give a damn about you.
Message.
Right.
So for all the young people saying, I'm not going to vote, I'm telling you, that's a mistake. Because if young people don't vote, I guarantee you Trump will win. And lives will change, man.
I just want to touch on that real quick. It's funny to see, and this is on and off real quick. It's funny to see that we don't have the same ferocity that we had when Obama was trying to get into office with the get out and vote campaigns, with all of our black and brown leaders coming together and doing the get out the vote campaigns. It's just funny to see that kind of has died down almost to none. Where is that, that voice and that support system now? You understand what I'm saying? Because I think
we don't have that leadership. We don't have that leadership.
Yeah.
And for all the Biden folks that I hope that are listening, all you got to do is put on your platform that you're going to legalize cannabis. You
got my vote, Doc.
You have all these young people voting. And I'm like, why can't they figure this out? You want to get the young people, just put that on your platform.
And stimulus too. We was eating crab leg shrimp. Shout out.
That's it.
we was eating good, Doc.
Yeah.
But Doc, before we go, we just want to give you your flowers too, brother. First of all, thank you for coming on this platform, brother.
Man.
And just want to let you know we created this for freedom, and everything that you said is the reason why we sacrifice what we sacrifice.
I like the young brother behind you.
Yeah.
My baby right here.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Knowles.
Yeah. That's my Dr. Knowles. This when we speak, like me and Jared are actually related, but we 10 toes down. We don't really compromise. Like I said, we unapologetic. We owe it. That's my godson, right? We owe it to that next generation to pay it forward for the things that you have done and the things that people before you have done. We owe it. We had to create this platform because there's not enough platforms like this to get the black voice out, right, without filter. And that's why we are going astray, because the message is not being projected.
That's it. And that's why we're all more than
I'm making a commitment right now that I would love to be invited back. So
absolutely. You got to open it. Please let the people know where they can find you. That anybody that wants to follow.
Go to MathewKnowles.com and they can find all my social media. I personally feedback on LinkedIn. That's my favorite. You can book me to speak. That's my passion. It's motivating and educating. But it's simple, MathewKnowles.com. And then lastly, and we'll talk about this next time. Remember we talked about his story versus history?
Yes.
If I don't clarify, because I used to sit in the back and I didn't need the accolades. But his story is Mathew Knowles was there with Beyoncé with Destiny's Child. Don't forget, folks, that her first 3 albums, and you can compare the numbers of her first 3 versus the last 3, but her first 3 albums, I was her manager and I had a partnership with Columbia Records.
Right.
And so I just have to remind people that Beyonce's career, I've been part of it for 25 years, not just the Destiny's Child part. See, there's a certain group of people would want you to forget that I did that.
Yeah, now we like I told you before you came on the show, Dr. Knowles, like I said, if you notice, we didn't bring up Beyonce at all because we already did our research on you and we knew that your story was phenomenal. You understand what I'm saying? And we applaud you because we are trying, be clear, we are trying to create the cheat code that you created to give our children a better life where financial freedom is afforded to them and they can be whatever they want to be earnestly, right? Without having to worry about, can I be the best violinist in the world or whatever, right? So we appreciate you for that, but you are so much more. You represent the Black man in the household. How about that? We talk about that every show. You represent a strong Black man that had a family in his household, and you show the value of a strong Black man and what he can accomplish when he is home and he is fucking giving his everything to his family. That's more important than anything else for our community. Community. Right.
And let's talk more about that next time.
Absolutely. So
I look forward. I got to run to something else here, but I enjoyed it and look forward. And young man, what's your name?
Case.
All right. Say thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining more than the title.
Yeah. All right. Get out of here. Listen, I just want to wish a special happy birthday to my oldest. I got 2 boys. He's 22 years old today. CJ, I love you. He's named after me. He's overseas right now in Bahrain. He's a part of the Army. He's defending our country. He followed behind me. I'm a Marine, but he's in the service, So shout out to all the military and the veterans. We appreciate your service. Happy birthday to my son. We love you, Dr. Knowles, the man, the myth.
Love.
More than the title.
There it go, baby.
You.
We out.
We out.